Okay, well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us to this session on scaling international assistance for financing industrial decarbonization. My name is Rana Goneim. I'm the Chief of the Division for Energy and Climate Action at UNIDO, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. It's really a privilege to be here today because this session is really bringing together the results of work that a lot of us have done over the past 3 years to demonstrate really the scale of progress in the international assistance for industrial decarbonization, but also outline some of the challenges and immense opportunities that we have to scale that up moving forward. So yesterday, we had in the evening a session where we launched something called the Global Matchmaking Platform. And that Global Matchmaking Platform is hosted under the Climate Club, which is a collaboration among a number of countries led by Germany and Chile. And their ambition is really to make low-carbon steel and cement and concrete the future market opportunity. So we will have the session in 3 parts. First, we're going to hear more about the Global Matchmaking Platform. I'm sure you all want to know what it is and what it does and how you can engage. Then we're going to move into a session which is showcasing some of the international collaboration space, what is happening in the international space on industrial decarbonization. And we're going to have statements from the Parliamentary Secretary of the Ministry of Economic Cooperation of Germany, the Deputy Minister of Industry from Turkey, and also from the Minister of Climate of the UK. Then we're going to move into a session where we're going to look more into some of the in-country partnerships forming between UK and Brazil, as well as Sweden and India. So that's an outline of the session today. And with that, I'm going to transition into the first part and play a short video really saying what the GMP is.
Decarbonizing heavy industries is essential for achieving net zero emissions by 2050. To reach this goal, global stakeholders face the challenge of reducing emissions by 90% in sectors like steel and cement. This is especially true in emerging markets and developing economies where industrial growth remains crucial for economic development. Introducing the Global Matchmaking Platform, a pivotal initiative from the Climate Club. Its mission is clear: to connect governments in emerging markets and developing economies with the policy, technical and financial solutions they need to decarbonize their industrial sectors. Emerging and developing economies receive many offers for technical support, which often fail to meet their specific needs. Even when technical support is well aligned, it is difficult to secure finance. The Global Matchmaking Platform bridges this gap. How does it work? Governments representing any emerging market or developing economy can submit requests detailing their unique challenges and goals. These requests are then matched with solutions from our existing and extensive network of experts and institutions. Network members can engage directly with these requests. This collaborative approach ensures that every country receives the tailored support it needs to achieve its industrial decarbonization objectives. For instance, countries can identify strategies to transition manufacturing processes to renewable energy, improving energy efficiency, or launch breakthrough technologies. What sets the GMP apart is its focus on industrial deep decarbonization. It serves as a single-point gateway, equipping countries with essential tools, connections, and guidance to develop enabling policies, access technology, or mobilize investments. If you are ready to take the next step towards decarbonizing industry, or if you want to be part of our network of delivery partners and investors, then visit our website today.
Perfect. So thanks for that. And now it's my pleasure to actually invite Sarbojit Pal, who's the manager of the Global Matchmaking Platform, to share with you a few more details on the platform.
Thank you, Rana. Can you guys confirm that you can hear me? Okay, fine, perfect. It feels a bit weird, but yeah, it works. So thank you everyone for coming this morning. I am Sarbojit, as Rana mentioned. I'm managing the Global Matchmaking Platform, which we launched yesterday. And today it's an opportunity for us at the Global Matchmaking Platform to also give you a bit of an overview with regards to what this platform is. Of course, this is something that was announced to be launched last year at COP28, and we have come one full year to really kind of shape up this platform to make it a platform where countries from the emerging and developing world can request for projects and support for programs for industry decarbonization, ranging and with a broad range. Like, so I mean, countries can make these requests ranging from, developing their roadmaps, their vision statements for industry decarbonization, all the way to specific projects and programs. Question is, when we talk about supporting EMDs, what is it that countries are requesting for? As I mentioned, the range of requests are coming in to be quite broad. They are asking for support for financial and technical assistance for developing their plans, their vision statements, their roadmaps, but they're also countries who are advanced enough on their pathways for industry decarbonization, where they're requesting support for specific projects. And then, like, we have been also in the last 6 months piloting the exercise for the Global Matchmaking Platform, where we have partnered with a host of different partner institutions, where we are pulling in their efforts to see how they can support delivering on these requests which are coming in from the different countries. So how does it work? And I know that there are some members from the developing country here as well who have inquired about the Global Matchmaking Platform. We work with these countries to onboard their specific requests which are coming in. Then we translate these requests into specific actionable proposals, which we then put forward to the network of delivery partners, which at this point of time we have a small cohort, but this is where we will be talking about that we are really growing that network of partners, because really we want to kind of onboard as many of partners as possible, because we really need dedicated, specialized support for many of these asks. And then we again connect these partners, whether it is for technical support or financial assistance, to these countries who then take it up and start working on the ask. So what do we get from the work of the GMP? It definitely helps the countries in moving forward and accelerating their requests for industry decarbonization across a wide range of asks and different sectors. So it's not just for cement and steel, but depending on the need for that particular country, because emerging and developing countries have very different kinds of needs, which are not just for the very heavy industries. And so we are also kind of responding to these kind of asks through this platform. Plus, these are going to be very custom designed for specific countries. So while we are seeing that there are some common features of these different asks which are coming from the different countries. For instance, some countries are requesting support for NDC enhancements, and this is a common feature that we have right now, because countries are in the process of enhancing their NDCs, where they're seeking support for their industry decarbonization efforts within the NDC enhancement. So in addition to supporting the countries, the platform is a very good opportunity for the delivery partners also to benefit from, because this is a single point gateway for them to access ready available project pipelines from the countries. So they really don't need to do a lot of homework, and this is something which is offered to them to help deliver against. So it's a great opportunity for the partners who we request to kind of join on the platform. And in terms of some of the financial institutions who have always been a bit wary about supporting projects for industry decarbonization, because they were never quite sure about the risks, because many of these things are very new. So I mean, this will be also an opportunity to kind of help the partners get a better understanding of get a better understanding of the projects which are coming on board, and therefore de-risk the project. So we have over the last 6 months, as I mentioned, been piloting this exercise, and we have a range of different projects which are requests which are coming in, which range from NDC enhancement all the way to getting a better understanding of how emerging and developing countries really need to kind of modify their industrial practices to address the work on carbon leakage, which is becoming a common feature across the countries. But so this is just kind of an overview from us at the Secretariat of the Global Matchmaking Platform of what potentially this platform can achieve. But more importantly, let's hear from some of our countries, from the emerging economies and developing countries, what their asks specifically are. So maybe hear from, sorry.
Dear friends, Assalamualaikum. Bangladesh has...
Okay, sorry. Can you tell me where we are?
Dear friends,
But it goes to the next one.
Assalamualaikum. Bangladesh has witnessed...
Yeah.
Indonesia has set a target to achieve national net zero emission by 2060 or earlier. To reach this ambitious goal, we need strong partnership and innovative solutions. We see great potential in the Global Matchmaking Platform, or GMP, to connect our country with vital financial and technical support for the decarbonization of industries. Through GMP, we hope to gain access to comprehensive assessment and match priority action with available financing. This is particularly crucial for our heavy industries, such as steel and cement, where the decarbonization is both challenging and essential. By bringing together key stakeholders, donors, and financing institutions, we can accelerate our journey toward a greener and more resilient economy. Together, we can build a cleaner, more sustainable world for future generations. One where industry and environment thrive in harmony.
Dear friends,
ladies and gentlemen, Morocco is deeply committed to transition to a decarbonized and green economy under the leadership of His Majesty King Mohammed VI. Various actions to accelerate this shift to lower carbon industrial production, from maximizing renewable energy use to improving energy efficiency, rationalizing water consumption, reusing wastewater, and adopting innovative sustainable technologies. Indeed, proactive strategies and targeted incentives, including tax benefits, subsidized infrastructure, and comprehensive skills development programs, has led a solid foundation for sustainable growth. These measures have successfully positioned Morocco as a key player in renewable energies production. Morocco has chosen to move up a gear in the field of renewable to ensure the transition to a green and global economy. The Kingdom aims to increase the share of renewable energies in the energy mix to 52% and reduce energy consumption by 20% by 2030. It is also one of the most competitive countries worldwide while talking about renewable energies. On the international front, Morocco has demonstrated its dedication to fostering eco-responsible industrial practices and sharing innovative green technologies globally. Being the first country to sign the Green Deal with the European Union, but also through our strategic partnerships with UNIDO, with Programme for Country Partnerships, and more recently, the Global Matchmaking Platform. Also, in May 2022, Morocco signed joint declarations on industrial decarbonization, circular economy promotion, and the development of green hydrogen in industry. As we embark on this transformative journey, we are confident that the GMP's support will ensure the successful implementation and scalability of our decarbonization efforts. So let us work together to build a sustainable tomorrow for our nation and for the world.
Thank you everyone. Back to you, Rana. So this just gives us an overview with regards to what the kind of requests are coming in from the different countries.
Thank you, Sarbojit, and thanks a lot, Sarbojit, and thank you also for all the partners that have been working with us on the development of the GMP and its launch. So it's now my pleasure to introduce our next panel, and starting with Minister of Climate, Kerry McCarthy of the UK. Thank you for having us here at the UK Pavilion. Yes, please join me here. Then Mr. Stefan Wenzel, Parliamentary State Secretary to the Minister of Economic Affairs and International Cooperation of Germany. Then our Deputy Minister of Industry from Turkey, and Tariya Gabadi from the Climate Investment Fund. Sorry, my iPad keeps on shutting down, and yes, but luckily we know each other by first name. So please, Tariya, join me here. Great. So thank you for joining us here today to talk about international assistance in the industrial decarbonization space. And the UK has actually led quite a lot of the efforts in that. So, Minister McCarthy, we'd love to hear your thoughts and views on that.
Well, thank you so much. Can everyone hear okay? I always have to check. Yeah, I mean, the first point I would make is the work has to begin at home in putting our own industries in order, particularly as you're one of the countries that are at the forefront of the Industrial Revolution many years ago that led us to the situation where we are now in terms of tackling emissions. We have 6 major industrial clusters in the UK, and we concluded recently the Industrial Decarbonisation Challenge, which is laying the foundations for trying to make sure that at least one of those industrial clusters is low carbon by 2030. And we want it to be the world's first net zero cluster by 2040. In terms of global net zero targets, carbon emissions from heavy industry needs to decline by 20% by 2030 and 93% by 2050. And I was looking at a recent OECD report, which gives a sobering take on progress to date. It shows that only 2% of the annual average of mitigation-related finance mobilised from the private sector between 2012 to 2020 went to steel, cement and chemicals, despite those sectors accounting for around 20% of global emissions. So clearly we need to do much more on industrial decarbonisation, and it's vital that we support emerging markets and developing economies to take early and decisive action this decade, particularly as heavy industry facilities are long-lived and capital intensive. That's why we are developing a finance mission under a new global Clean Power Alliance, which you will hear more from at the G20 next week. The mission goal is simple: urgently scaling clean energy investments to EMDEs for COP30 and beyond, back in line with the global stocktake goals. And I'm pleased to say we'll be helping kickstart support for industry decarbonisation efforts in developing countries by jointly pledging over $400 million alongside Germany next week. It's designed to catalyse additional pledges from governments and philanthropies and mobilise investments from the private sector. We see these commitments as an initial first step, but we know more is needed. So we call on other donors to join us by committing to this global pledge on scaling assistance for industry decarbonisation ahead of COP30. To conclude, to implement this pledge, we will work through the Breakthrough Agenda and Climate Club. We also recognise the need for targeted grant-based technical assistance, so I'm pleased to announce that we've committed £45 million to the World Bank's Energy Sector Management Assistance Programme, which is one of the biggest TA funds supporting the energy transition. And we are allocating £14 million to UNIDO's Net Zero Partnership to help deliver technical assistance for green industrial innovation in developing countries. We look forward to working with all our partners and continuing this momentum as we look ahead to COP30. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister McCarthy, for your commitment and also for those announcements. So let me now turn to you, Mr. Wenzel. And Germany has also been quite a leader in the space, bringing countries around topics of standards, but also a lot more. So how is Germany actually, and what is Germany doing in order to support the industrial decarbonization in emerging and developing countries?
Yeah, thank you very much for your question, and thank you very much, Kerry McCarry, for organizing this event with your team. And I think it's clear we need to reach our common Paris goals. We must address the industry too. The industry is an accelerator for innovation and also for production, for example, of efficient production to produce electricity with wind or with sun. But on the other hand, the industry is also the second biggest source of emissions, and so we must keep an eye on the options to decarbonize the industry and to use the innovation potential we have there. And that was the reason why we launched the Climate Club, and we are happy to be in the moment. We are working as a co-chair with Chile and with 43 other nations all over the world from 5 different continents. And we have a wonderful platform to discuss how we can do it, what standards we need together, how we can bring in the newest experience from science, and where we have best practice in different countries we can bring together. But one other very important focus point is how we can funding, especially in emerging markets and in developing economies. And this is an important point because, for example, when we see the implementation of solar panels in the last year, we have 560 gigawatt worldwide, but only 2% in Africa and 60% in China. So we must look at cooperation at the emerging markets and the developing economies, and therefore we need options for financing. And jointly with our colleagues from UK, my minister will announce a global pledge for industry decarbonization assistance next Monday in a couple of days. And this pledge is supposed to send a strong signal to the international community and the private sector that the urgently needed scaling of investments is starting now. And besides the need for scaling international assistance in that sector, the efficient use and swift supply of the demand-driven support is crucial. And that is why the Climate Club has launched its global matchmaking platform yesterday evening here at the COP, and as was announced by my colleagues from the UNIDO. And the GMP will help governments to define their request for the port. Mr. Paul show this team at the beginning of this meeting, and it will also help them access the financial and the technical assistance they need to mobilize investment, which we required. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you as well, and congratulations on the launch of the platform. So now let me turn to you, Deputy Minister. So we would love to hear from you because there is this global push for industrial decarbonization. We know that emerging and developing countries need support and assistance and also access to technology. So we'd love to hear more from you around, what's the state of progress on the decarbonization in Turkey, but also how are you working on mobilizing public and private capital to help with the decarbonization?
Thank you for the question. Turkey recognizes the critical role that industry decarbonization plays in achieving both our national sustainability targets and contributing to global climate goals. Turkey aims to reach net zero emissions by 2053, and we declared our long-term strategy for this process a few days ago at COP29. Like we set out in this strategy, investments in large-scale and innovative projects focused on technology, green and digital transformations are prioritized. Turkey aims to significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions while maintaining and enhancing the competitiveness of the industrial sector in line with its long-term strategy. With this aim, we prepared low-carbon roadmaps for the most emitting sectors: steel, aluminium, cement, and fertilizers. These roadmaps outline the use of the best available techniques and emerging clean production technologies, along with the policy measures and financing requirements. The roadmaps indicate that by 2053, total emissions could be reduced by 99% in steel sector, 93% in cement sector, 75% in aluminium sector, and a complete reduction of emissions by 100% is targeted in fertilizer sector by compared to a scenario based on current policies and conditions. Of course, implementing these roadmaps and initiating pilot projects requires the development of financing instruments to support investments aimed at reducing emissions. As we indicated in our first biennial transparency report, which has also released during COP29, to achieve net zero emissions by 2053, Turkey would need to invest a total of 165 billion until 2040. Of this, nearly 72 billion investments in total is needed for advanced techniques, clean technologies and policy measures for decarbonizing hard-to-abate industrial sectors. In order to meet this need, we as the Ministry of Industry and Technology have recently initiated two support programs. One is the Green Transformation Support Program. The objective of this program is to support investments in Turkey that are compatible with the circular economy approach to encourage the adaptation of cleaner technologies and energy-efficient practices within the industrial sector. And the second one is the Digital Transformation Support Program, which supports the integration of high-value technological products and solutions into existing businesses' processes, aiming to reduce costs, improve efficiency, and enhance quality, thereby contributing significantly to the green transition across all sectors. On the other hand, recognizing the public resources alone will not be sufficient for the transformation of the industry, and we prioritize strategies that focus on mobilizing private finance as well. In this process, we have partnered with the various bilateral and multilateral development institutions such as the World Bank Group, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, Islamic Development Bank, and also utilize various European Union instruments. In this regard, one of our notable projects is the Turkey Green Industry Project, which we are implementing with the support of the World Bank. The aim of this project is to promote sustainable and efficient green transformation in industry by supporting both SMEs and larger scale technology and R&D projects. In the meantime, for the realization of our sectoral low-carbon roadmaps, another strategic step is the Turkey Industrial Decarbonisation Investment Platform that we will establish in partnership with the EBRD, IFC, IBRD and CIF. The platform that we will officially announce soon will focus on financing instruments identified through the low-carbon pathway for initially steel, cement, aluminium and fertilizer sectors. This platform aims to secure over 5 billion euros in financing for green transformation investments and reduce annual carbon dioxide emissions by 20 million tons, which will make a significant contribution to our sustainable economic development. So we know that international partnerships' role in this process is indispensable, and we are confident that our partnership will continue to deliver tangible results for Turkey. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. That's been really helpful and great to see the state of progress and how you're really taking steps to move ahead with the decarbonization. Wonderful examples, thank you so much. But that also gives us great segue. You mentioned the platform supported by the CIF, and Taria, congratulations on the launch of the $1 billion program for industrial decarbonization. That's really major news. We're all super excited with that. So we'd love to hear more from you on what does this program do and how do you expect it's going to scale up work on industrial decarbonization?
Sure, thank you so much. Once again, thank you so much for coordinating this. CIF has a really special role to play in climate finance, given the work we do through the MDBs. And with $12 billion pledged, CIF is one of the largest concessional climate finance providers working exclusively through the MDBs. Our 16-year track record is one that has invested in frontier technologies and climate solutions. CIF is a risk taker. We're wired to be a patient, catalytic funding provider, and we go into hard spaces. We go, in 2008, the difficult to finance area was solar and wind, and now industrial decarbonization is really this is the space that we need to go into. Now we see an exciting potential for this, which is why we are addressing decarbonization of critical, hard-to-abate industrial sectors, driving innovation forward and scaling momentum. As you have heard, we've launched an Industrial Decarbonization and Clean Technology Supply Chains Program, and we've made about $1 billion available for this program. We find that it's very much meeting the moment, the coalescing of several major agendas, as well as really the timing. The program aims to pioneer low-carbon pathways for heavy-emitting industries, proof of concepts in emerging markets and developing economies, and also looking at investing in technologies that spur innovation, such as green steel, green cement, green hydrogen. We're also looking at supply chains. We see this program as having a great tie-in with the private sector and private capital, as we're all pushing to integrate more private capital into climate. Industry presents a really interesting nexus, and so we are actually integrating private sector activities into this approach. We launched the expression of interest call a few months ago, actually at the CEM in Brazil, and the deadline for the call is in January. Something unique about what we've done this time around is we are allowing countries and private operators do a joint application. And so that's somewhat unique, but it's actually responding to the evolution of climate finance, where we really have to be partnering with the private sector, even at the design phase. We also have a dedicated private sector window as well within the program, and we really think that it is responding to the great needs that are being presented by our countries. The CIF's methodology involves country leadership, and we are very excited to work with countries as they map out their sort of strategic programming in industrial decarbonization. Thank you very much to UK Minister McCarthy for providing the keynote at the CIF Industrial Decarbonisation Programme in Brazil. It's like you've been really with us along the way with this program, and we're very grateful for your support. I think indeed it's been mentioned that 2025 is bringing together this moment where interests in the industrial decarbonization space are really converging. For example, the Breakthrough Agenda, the Global Matchmaking Program is another very good example of this. And I really congratulate the GMP and the Climate Club, co-chairs Germany and Chile, for bringing this so central. I mean, technical assistance and the support to countries in mapping out this program is key. Thank you to Germany and UK again on the Steel Breakthrough Agenda. We're really coming to this moment that we can amplify this much needed area, but complementarity is also going to be very important. So we're seeing lots of interesting green shoots. The Brazil-UK Industrial Decarbonisation Hub, as well as Lead It as an example. So there's really a lot that's exciting. And what we're really hoping is that we'll see a unification of the G7, the G20, and COP around industrial decarbonization. Because, you know, as we struggle with the transition agenda, for example, accelerating coal transition, the reality is we need to also show the opportunity for transition. And industry presents that. You know, industry, clean industry are going to provide the jobs, the much needed new jobs that fit into the transition. So can industrial decarbonization present opportunity not just for a just transition, but for a prosperous one? And I think aligning these agendas can potentially take us there. So thank you so very much.
Thanks a lot, Taria, for the valuable work that CIF is doing. So I'd like to ask you all now one question and one thought very quickly, just in a minute or so. Taria spoke about this moment coming up. So what are the critical steps that you see are needed from now until COP30 to scale up international assistance for industrial decarbonization?
Okay. In terms, it is a big challenge. We know that it is, and that's why we need that international cross-sectoral collaboration to do it. I think identifying common approaches on long-term strategies and targets, and on-demand and supply-side measures is really important. Strengthening, we've heard already today about the global matchmaking platform, and I think initiatives like that where you're matching country requests with appropriate assistance providers is absolutely going to be essential. But it's also about building a pipeline of bankable projects and strengthening that enabling environment through the technical assistance that I spoke about earlier. Finally, I would sort of say we need to drastically scale up the concessional finance, which is why I very much welcome CIF moving into this sphere. We saw as was mentioned, you know, we saw the launch of the up to $1 billion call for proposals under the CIF Industry Decarbonisation Programme, and we're very proud as the UK to be a founding contributor to this programme. It's definitely the way forward.
Thank you. Very clear suggestions. So please, Mr. Wenzel.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the CIF is a very good example for the support of such investments, but we are also we need more donors. So on one hand we want to attract more donors to engage. Second, we, for example, also trying to show that there are other new instruments for investment. We're working now with CIF's contracts for difference, which provide, for example, a company which wants to decarbonize this process. It has a contract for 10 or 15 years, and we pay. It's kind of a security in both directions, and depends on the price of the product and the market. And so this contracts for difference can provide financial security for an investment. And we also want to attract more countries to join the Climate Club to discuss together strategic discussions about carbon leakage, standard definitions for near zero or low emission steel and cement. And I think this global matchmaking platform must make clear also that emerging countries and developing countries get an option there to finance their projects.
Wonderful, thank you. I echo that as well. So Mr. Gonulu, what in your view are the next steps?
Thank you. As we approach COP30, the global agenda demands more decisive action to unlock and mobilize both public and private finance for industry decarbonization. In Turkey and indeed globally, there are critical next steps that we must collectively address to ensure significant progress. First, we need to enhance policy alignment and regulatory certainty. Clear, consistent and long-term policies are essential for reducing perceived investment risks and encouraging private sector participation. Second, developing innovative financial instrument is the key. Green bonds, sustainability-linked loans, and blended finance mechanisms should be scaled up to bridge the current financing gap. Turkey is actively working on creating these financial products in collaboration with both local and international financial institutions. A further critical step involves fostering regional and international cooperation. Turkey is committed to sharing expertise and participating in knowledge exchange platforms that can help countries build on each other's successes and navigate common challenges. As Turkey, we are actively participating in the works of Climate Club, the Steel Breakthrough, and the Cement and Concrete Breakthrough, which are working towards decarbonization of the industry in particular. Finally, we must engage industries directly by providing targeted support and capacity building initiatives, because it's important to provide the technical support that producers, especially smaller ones, need to effectively implement decarbonization technologies, many of which are new or complex to understand. Turkey is dedicated to advancing these steps and collaborating with global partners to accelerate the decarbonization of our industries and contribute meaningfully to shared climate goals. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And Taria, also we'd love to hear from you. What are the next steps you think are essential?
Now? Okay, excellent. At this point, I think it might be good to speak about quantum and just mention the CIF capital markets mechanism. One of the challenges we have with industrial decarbonization is the scale of the funding that's required. These are not small checks, right? And so for a country to be able to have a coherent industrial decarbonization strategy, you're going to need to have a large concessional check to underpin even larger amounts of funding from MDBs and the private sector. And so to be able to have mechanisms that can scale concessional finance, for example, the new CIF capital markets mechanism is really going to be key. And so we're pretty happy that that mechanism is sort of coinciding with this moment, because it's that type of mechanism that's allowing us launch the industrial decarbonization program at the scale that we're able to do it. Now, one thing is quantum, the other is quality. So high quality concessional finance is also critical. We are going to be able to provide the type of high quality concessional finance, especially from a lending standpoint, into the space. But there are still needs, right? Because you still need specialized high risk instruments that go into the areas that concessional lending cannot go into. And some of the areas that we're identifying are technical assistance and capacity for countries to be able to engage with this content. The GMP is a big solution space toward that. But then there are other areas. Several of our partners are talking about the challenges of going from concept to FID. And that final investment decision is such a firm line, and a lot of capital is used in that space, and it needs to be equity or it needs to be grant. And for us to get the pipeline across the line, we're going to need project preparation, project development, and equity and high-risk capital pre-financial, pre-FID to get the projects over. There's also a very big gap, which is around offtake and the need for long-term offtake at reasonable pricing. Our funding can potentially go into some of that solution space, but we'll need others to join us in thinking about specific instruments, as was mentioned earlier, that can go into some of those bottlenecks, so that even the larger checks that we have available on the concessional lending side can then catalyze the funding that the MDBs give, as well as private sector. I'll close on the point that we all need to focus on increasing the multiplier effects of our capital. The CIF has a track record of mobilizing $10 for each dollar we invest, but we all need to do more. We need to be able to push that up to 20 times and things like that, and you need high-risk capital to enable that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I feel like there's quite a lot here. More donors, more concessional funding, more of the platforms and support like the GMP for technical assistance, and the list goes on and on. But we really look forward to hear the pledge also of Germany, and to be announced by Minister Habeck, and hope that more countries are going to join that pledge. So join me now in thanking our panel for all their interventions. And I'd like now to transition to the next panel. But while we are transitioning, actually, Minister Kerry, we can have you here still for a second, because we're transitioning for the next panel, and I'm going to be introducing in the next panel the discussion on the UK-Brazil hub. So I'm introducing Mr. Rollenberg, who is the Deputy Minister for the Ministry of Industry of Brazil. So we've been working with the UK and Brazil on the setting up of the industry hubs, and okay. Fantastic. So we wanted to have a photo. That's yes.
Create a mess. So.
We're going to continue the discussion, so don't leave the room yet. We have a very exciting also discussion still happening. Thank you so much.
Let me get that cleared out. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to invite next on the stage. So Secretary Hollenberg, if you would like to, I'll invite you to take a seat here, and then let me introduce Lee McDonough, Director General of the Department for Energy Security Net Zero of the UK government, and then Davi, sorry, I can't see from there, Bomtempo, Executive Manager of the Environmental and Sustainability Unit. Oh, are you stepping in for him? Okay, sorry. You see, things are changing so much at COP, so I think flexibility is our slogan here. So thank you so much. But then I would ask you to introduce yourself, maybe just for us to know the name. So have a seat, please.
Hi, I'm Juliana Falcão, Manager for Climate Change and Energy at the CNI.
Okay, perfect. Exactly. See, the face is familiar. I'm sure we were on some Zoom calls, Juliana.
We met. I think we met in Brazil this year. Yeah.
Perfect. Great. Thank you for joining us. So great. Now we want to move on and focus a bit on the Brazil-UK Industry Decarbonisation Hub. So last year there were two flagship initiatives that were launched. One is the UK-Brazil Industrial Hub, and another is actually an equivalent that's happening in India in collaboration with Sweden. And these are two very promising examples of collaboration because they involve a number of things. Technology collaboration among the two countries in the north and south, if I may still use this terminology. And then at the same time really helping countries to have transition plans and to align the financing and international support that's needed for these plans. Last year at COP29, we had the launch of the platform in Brazil. And I recall celebrating it with you, Mr. Hollenberg. So now that it's been a year since that launch, we would like to hear from you more on where things are and how has it been developing. And I would like to tell everyone that actually Mr. Hollenberg is going to speak in Portuguese. So I believe you need to switch to channel 4.
Bom dia. Bom dia, Hannah. É um prazer muito grande estar mais uma vez aqui. Quero cumprimentar minhas colegas de painel, dizer da minha alegria de estar aqui no Reino Unido, país com quem temos tido uma parceria muito profícua. Fico muito feliz de que o Brasil e Reino Unido tenham se antecipado e já tenham apresentado as suas NDCs, os seus compromissos nacionalmente determinados, incentivando outros países a fazerem o mesmo. Já está virando tradição da relação entre Brasil e Reino Unido, e toda a COP, a gente assinar uma cooperação, ou firmar uma cooperação.
We sign a cooperation agreement. Last year, we have
vice-presidente Geraldo Alckmin com a ministra do Reino Unido,
with the Minister Geraldo Aldo, the decarbonization pledge. And now we are moving on into cooperation towards the production of green fertilizers. From then on, many things have moved on. Many things have developed in the decarbonization agenda in Brazil. We have approved at the National Congress several projects, such as the project Mover to Move, which is the decarbonization of the automotive sector. We approved the hydrogen regulation, low carbon hydrogen regulation, and until 18 investing until up to 18 billion reais to green hydrogen. We've also approved the fuel of the future. In this future of the fuel, we've got a mandate for aviation companies to use sustainable aviation fuel on a gradual basis, starting with 1% and up to 10%. And we also have a mandate for those companies that import natural gas to incorporate biomethane, starting off with 1% up to 10%. We've also regulated the carbon capture as well as ethanol in gas and biodiesel mixed with diesel. And this week we had a very positive news. As COP29 was moving on, regulation of the 6.1 article of the Paris Agreement, we approved in the Senate the regulation of the decarbonization. With the support of UK, we are creating the national strategy for industrial decarbonization, and we are concentrating ourselves in these 6 sectors which are very hard to decarbonize and which are energy intensive, which represent 85% of carbon emissions: steel, cement, chemical industry, glass, paper and pulp, and aluminium. We're also working in uniting these 3 tools, CIF, as it was presented, the decarbonization branch, and Brazil is preparing our manifestations of interest for industrial decarbonization projects. And we've had the opportunity of launching here, with the participation of Vice President and Minister Geraldo Alckmin, the Brazil platform of financing for ecological transformation. So all these tools put together are going to contribute towards the acceleration of decarbonization projects in the industry in Brazil. We are currently living a moment, because of the climate emergency, that we need to scale up the cooperation between all countries, between the developing countries and developed countries and the UK. These concrete manifestations on the side of UK in relation to Brazil are really giving a very strong example, which we hope other countries will follow, so that we can extend our cooperation to benefit the whole planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hollenberg, and you may want to turn now to 0 again. So I'll give you a second to... You don't hear? 0? Go back to 0? Yeah? Everyone is on 0? Yeah? Perfect. Great. Wonderful. So let me now, thank you so much for sharing those insights on the progress in Brazil and, laying out also that this has been something ongoing for more than just COP28 and before. So now let me turn to you, Lee. Well, I mean, the UK has been supporting this work in the UK-Brazil hub, and there are really very big aspirations of what this can achieve, and especially now Brazil is working on its NDC parallel. I mean, working on one side on preparing the NDC, but on the other side driving this action bottom up. So I'm very curious to see what's the state of progress of that, but also to know more from you, like what are the insights that you can share with us on this country platform and how it has developed so far.
Thank you, Rana, and good afternoon, everybody. So I think we heard from the first panel about the size of the challenge that we're facing to reduce global CO2 emissions from industry. And I guess so scaling up assistance is a key element of what we need to do. But I think we shouldn't only focus on increasing volume of assistance available, and we really need to think about improving the quality of assistance that's provided. And so I guess the question we should be asking ourselves is, like, how can we make international assistance work better for emerging economies? So what can we do to maximise the collective impact of support? And that's where the Brazil Hub's vision comes in. And so, we have made a deliberate attempt to design a new model of country platform with these hubs, and it's dedicated to mobilising and coordinating this coherent package of international sectoral assistance. And I've got two main reflections on where we got to so far. So firstly, I think I would say sector transformations are best considered as system transitions. And so you need a coordinated range of mutually reinforcing strategic and targeted interventions to help sort of stimulate, I guess, the strongest possible reaction. And you can see this in the Brazil hubs in terms of the range of interlinked deliverables. So you have to create this sort of enabling environment, and there's a range of assistance providers to work in partnership with the Ministry of Development and Industry and Commerce on the development of key policies. You need to foster research and innovation, so really turbocharge deployment of key new technologies through initiatives such as the Industry Technology Incubator. And then you also need, several of the speakers in the first panel mentioned this sort of pipeline of projects. So we need this pipeline of deep decarbonisation projects. So you've got a long-term source of coherent projects which are focused on industrial sectors that are key to Brazil's priorities and sort of enabling that ecological transformation. So I think in summary, we feel we need this disruptive systems thinking approach that can, sort of catalyse genuine change, and that requires the resources from all sources. I guess my next reflection is really around flexibility. So, this model that we have co-created is designed deliberately to be flexible so that it can address priorities of the Brazilian government. And both the industry and the hydrogen hubs were launched actually at the same time, but they developed different approaches, and that is exactly what should be happening. It's not one size fits all. So the industry hub, as we've talked about, is taking a really expansive approach across multiple sectors, and the hydrogen hub was able to build off Brazil's existing national hydrogen strategy, and it already had a strong sense of prioritisation for the hydrogen industrial clusters. So just having that flexibility to reflect the circumstances, the needs and the preferences of the counterpart ministry, the context in terms of the regulatory position, and I guess the maturity of the sectors in transition. So there's two different approaches the hubs have developed, but what they have in common, and I think is their real strength, is that they create this centre of gravity, and so that's where this assistance comes together and can really unite behind the priorities of Brazil. And so I'm really excited to see what we can deliver through these hubs by the time we get to COP30. Thank you.
Absolutely, we all are excited to see that, and yeah, thanks to pointing. I think that echoes also what Taria was saying. We need not only quantity, but also the quality of those proposals, and certainly how to stimulate the pipeline. And there's a lot of efforts across many initiatives on that. So let me now turn to you, Juliana. We've heard also in the previous panel from the Deputy Minister Gonulu about the importance of private sector capital here. So public and private collaboration are going to be key in driving sustainable industrial transitions, especially in areas like innovation, which already Director General Lee alluded to. So what are the opportunities you see to strengthen Brazil's research and development ecosystem in order to support the industrial transition?
Thanks for the question. I will speak in Portuguese if you don't mind. I can just short notice. I think it's going to be better for everyone.
Yes, so channel 4, please.
Obrigada. Eu acho que
Thank you. I'd like to thank your question. It's a great advantage to talk after the Secretary because he referred many things right. I'd like to say that, first of all, the Brazilian industry is an industry which celebrates its wins. It represents 10% of the emissions in Brazil, and we can see the national industry as a great potential, as a great promoter of decarbonization, and also in the green agenda. We've been working a great deal with the government in co-creation. So we're together with the government working in all actions, plans and programs. For some years now we have developed a strategy to work with around the industry, and the strategy covers 4 areas. We say the energy transition, efficiency, hydrogen, CIF, and we see many similarities with net zero strategy with the UK government. So, and these are some of the topics that we'd like to work around. So hydrogen, biomass, CCS. So we're now launching, right, Secretary? So in our pavilion, we're going to launch a study which was made together with the government, where we try to study international experiences in climate neutrality experiences, and UK is part of this study, and we're analysing UK strategy, and we're now going to launch in the next couple of days a study on CCS, analysing international experience and what the way forward for Brazil will be. We've been working quite close to the government within the climate plan. It's been a great challenge. And we want to work on the short and medium term basis, because we talk about decarbonization on long term, but it's already decarbonization possible within technologies we work with, and Brazilian industry has been implementing many decarbonization actions. As an illustration, the steel industry, which is one of the industrial sectors where the decarbonization strategy is really relevant on the short and medium-term basis. The idea in Brazil is that we keep on working with biomass. We use biomass a great deal for the steel industry, and also natural gas, considering that we need to use the existing structures, because to change the structures, we're talking about millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars. It's not just millions, but hundreds of millions of dollars. So when you think about the change into using hydrogen, we're talking about high figures, and this is something that the previous panel mentioned, the size of the financing required, and each industrial sector has its own specificities. Again, Portugal has this vocation for biomass. It's a regional biomass for biomass, which is huge and which we need to take advantage of. And looking at the work that we're carrying out, so the UK is carrying out, we have the CCS clusters. This is a very interesting topic for Brazil to get to know about, what UK has been doing. And of course, we're all looking at hydrogen and new technologies. So I believe that, well, there's another question which I believe extremely relevant, and how are going to, and this is a global challenge, how can we integrate, and you've been doing this wonderfully, how can we integrate industrial policies together with the climate policies? This is a huge challenge across the board, and we really need to work together on this. And the data question, we are in an initial process, because we do not have yet the data, we don't have an REV system, so we really have to work a lot around this question, because a robust system is essential for any climate policy. So this is all the observations I had for you. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go back to channel 0. Everyone back on channel 0? Great. Thank you so much, Juliana, for sharing those insights. And yes, innovation and collaboration around innovation clusters and the role of different technologies is going to be important, because each country's pathway is different. So thank you for sharing those thoughts. Now, we see more of these platforms. As we said, there's Brazil-UK, there's Sweden-India, there's also EBRD working with Turkey, Canada working with Thailand and others. So we hear more of these announcements, and they're all welcome, and they share different models, not necessarily the same, but they're all a step in the right direction. I'm really interested now to hear from each of you. What do you see as one key challenge for industrial decarbonization in Brazil, and one important opportunity? So we'll have a quick round now for all of you.
Juliana
talked about the National Confederation of Industry, and she represents the National Confederation of Industry, and she's mentioned something which is very important for us. It's really important for countries to recognize the specificities and the potentials of each country. Brazil is a very big country, and it's very different in its regions. For instance, she talked about steel industry. In some regions, we have conditions to decarbonize the steel industry using biomass. We have a great deal to do with energy efficiency. We can extend electrification of processes. Last year, we closed with 93% of the electrical metrics with renewable energies. So in some cases, we can change natural gas by biomethane, and in a near future, hydrogen. We know that hydrogen is a technology which will be mature within a couple of years, and we'll rather move on with the regulation process for hydrogen use. But for us, it's really important to improve the productive chains. We want to add value to this production system. It means that in Brazil we'll have a greener steel, a greener cement, greener chemical products, and green fertilizers. But it's also very important that in the global debate around industry decarbonization, we will take into account the second level, energy. The second scope, we have the industry with a carbon footprint which is lower than the world average. It's because of the energy which is based on 90% on renewable energies. On the other hand, I believe that we have to strive for the association of different financing tools. We have the BNDES, which is the highest funder of the renewable energies in the world, and they have complied with a very important role. The executive secretary of the Brazilian platform of financing of climate action. So we have the accelerator accelerator of industrial transformation, and CIF, all those can create a portfolio of joint actions uniting concessional resources with cheaper resources in Brazil, thanks to technological innovation, and other resources with the goal of accelerating investment processes. On the other hand, we can't lose the opportunity of saying that Brazil is the right location for companies across the world that need to accelerate their decarbonization processes. In terms of thinking about the planet as a single unity and replace competition, sometimes unfair competition, by cooperation, Brazil stands as the ideal location for investments because we have abundant renewable energy, which is safe and cheap. In terms of the geopolitical position, we have good relations with all countries across the world, so we can't have industrial plans of other countries which need to accelerate their decarbonization processes. Within this collaboration perspective, I'd like to stress that Brazil has many reserves of critical and strategic minerals, but it's not sustainable neither on the environmental viewpoint or economically speaking that these minerals circulate from one continent to the next to be used in another continent to return with an added value to the continent of origin. It's very important that part of the value added will be take place in the developing countries that are the producers of raw materials. There's another very relevant issue which we really need to break certain existing prejudices, particularly in the European Union against biofuels. Last COP, we decided that we would we'll multiply by 3 times the use of renewable energies until 2030. We can double the production of biofuels, only using 5% of the pastures. So biofuel will be essential, for instance, for the aviation fuel, to decarbonize aviation, which is responsible for 2% of world emissions. Biofuel through bioethanol is essential to decarbonize maritime transportation. So we must have this wider perspective, thinking about collaboration and respecting and recognizing the specificities and potentials of each country.
Excellent. Thank you. I'll turn now to you, Juliana, to simplify and stop the shifting. So let me shift to you. Tell us one challenge and one opportunity, please.
Eu acho que o grande desafio, e aí
I think that the main challenge,
eu entendo que também é desafio.
I understand that it's a challenge from the UK, is you have a very clear.
Exatamente o que precisa ser feito. Eu acho que do mundo todo, né? Estamos todos buscando esse caminho muito claro. E a gente está fazendo isso através do Plano Clima, junto com o governo. E eu queria só falar rapidamente sobre a importância. O secretário falou de biocombustíveis. Os biocombustíveis fazem parte do Plano Clima e eu achei que tinha começado.
Okay, our interpretation. Can you give me a signal?
Can you?
Now we hear you.
Is it interpretation? Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Sorry about that. She says it later.
Comecei dizendo que
So I was beginning.
Tem caminho muito claro para essa
Well,
descarbonização.
it's a very clear way forward for decarbonization, and so this was a challenge faced by the UK and most countries. And those who have solutions, they have a very clear route, and they can sell to other countries. But bringing to what the Secretary recommended, it's very important for people. We have we contracted a model to understand how we would actually get to the carbon neutrality in 2050, and so we to CO2 in 2030. This model brings us a very important idea of what's going to happen. So that we have these new technologies like BECCS. And another point which is very interesting in the hydrogen plant, ethanol can bring about a lot of hydrogen. And then there's 6 hydrogen molecules in methanol. So these technologies have to be looked at very seriously, and to see the importance they have. Yesterday we were talking about the automobile sector, and for Brazil it is still very important. And so I think that we have a very clear way forward. It is a very diverse country. The opportunities are huge and different, and challenges are different. And so we have resources. We have to go and get what the most cost-effective resources for us. And so this is perhaps the clearest way forward for us. That's a major challenge. Thank you.
Great. So we're turning back to Channel Zero. And yes, it is true. I mean, we need different pathways, but I think one thing I want to mention from the session right before, we were talking about green procurement, and commitments coming from countries on low carbon are bringing us perhaps 83% reduction by 2050. Depends on a country by country basis. So we need also investments in near zero technologies to make it really and keep the goals of the Paris Agreement alive. DG Lee, if I may ask you to also share with us one challenge and one opportunity.
I'll keep it brief. One challenge and one opportunity is the same thing. So I think it's the need to scale up financing, I would say. And obviously we know that industrial decarbonisation is absolutely integral to hitting net zero. But the studies that from the OECD highlights that investments in low carbon industrial technologies need to increase by a factor of 3 to 5 by 2030 compared to current levels. And that's billions of additional dollars that are needed. And that doesn't even account for the investment needed in the wider clean energy transitions. So this will need to come from a range of public and private sources. And the other part of the challenge is complexity. So, is the complexity in trying to get the right projects, the right blend of financing and the right timing. Creating the structures that are going to bring together a pipeline of bankable projects with finance providers is going to be a necessity. But onto the opportunity associated with scaling up financing. Well, we've heard a lot today, but the recent launch of the Brazil investment platform really offers us an unprecedented opportunity, a great model to address some of these challenges. We're already exploring powerful synergies actually between the hubs and this investment platform. When it comes to industry and hydrogen, that's really positive. And in addition, we have the UK-backed launch of the CIF Industry Programme and the flagship capital markets mechanism that Tarja mentioned, and that my Prime Minister Keir Starmer launched earlier in the week. And that's got potential to mobilise, up to $75 billion worth of additional climate finance this decade. These are really significant interventions. So the final thing is really, I guess, across all of this, we need better technical assistance. And so, we have recently announced some UK PACT projects in Brazil, which will also improve access to climate finance and support that green industrial growth. So I guess, ending on a positive note, I think all of these things combined give us, a really ambitious platform of opportunity as we move forward. Thanks.
Thanks for ending us on this really positive note. We all need it, hearing what's happening also on the other side. I think we do have time for one question if any of our audience would like to pose a question to our panelists. So I'd invite you to introduce yourself and to pose your question.
Hello, thank you for a really interesting discussion. My name's Philip Hargreaves. I'm CEO of Carbon Bit Technologies, and we've developed carbon capture and direct air capture technology that is quite important for the industrial decarbonisation picture. How easy is it for companies like us to become engaged in such a big programme? Or are you aiming mainly at larger companies that where the innovation's already done and you're not really as interested in new technologies like ours?
Perhaps, Juliana, may I ask you that question? No? Are you posing this to the panel? Okay. Anyone would like to pick it up? So basically the question is, they have developed a technology, they're still more of a smaller startup type company. So what are the opportunities that this platform presents, not just to the large industrial players, but also to those innovations that are coming? Are there opportunities for them to benefit and be part of that partnership?
Não, sim. O lado positivo da gente reunir.
The positive side is for us getting together a number of alternatives, different instruments like the Decarbonisation Hub, the Brazil Climate Platform, and which will bring about industrial transformation. We have this for all the types of projects, from the restructuring of small projects like the Decarbonisation Hub, that's possible, and so projects that have already been structured that we've just shown now in the Brazil platform of climate change. And so on the other hand, we have public policy instruments, so the new political industrial policy for energy security, and we have the objective of having a number of different policies is to use the instruments, public policy, as a differentiated credit, as the focus in this research and development, and to focus on public procurement in order to motivate certain technological developments. Now, on the 26th of November in Brazil, in Belo Horizonte, they are opening a factory of electrolyzers for hydrogen factory. But I'm just telling you this to show that, in fact, we have space for all different types and sizes of projects. And just to conclude, ANEL has a public call of 2,700 million reais to finance projects and in the area of hydrogen, and a number in the area of hydrogen.
Juliana, you would like to add something? Yeah.
Juliana, quer acrescentar alguma coisa?
Interpretation, please.
There's no sound. There's no sound. The microphone's not working, sorry.
Funcionando? Ah, tá. Desculpa. Tá funcionando.
Okay, so no. So you ask about how do we see the projects, the Brazilian platform. Your company has projects, 5 to 7, I believe the lady said. So I'm going to add on to what the secretary said, and then maybe I'll ask a question from the point of view of Brazilian industry. We have looked at this 17 technology as something which is way out in the future there, because we consider the cost very, very high. And so the information that we have is that a ton of captured CO2 is about $100, whereas a ton of cement in Brazil costs $70. So we have to see the costs to come down for us to be able to work in this, and even the scales in terms of price is still a very expensive technology for us. And so we understand that we, at the beginning of the process, and our study actually shows us, we've had a move forward in legislation, a legislation that brings us in the beginning of this process. Our study shows the need of Brazil to study the matter more, to understand what the reservoirs are, and the logistic cost. I found the whole number of questions. In the Brazilian case at the moment, we would be trying to understand the impacts and the possibilities to see whether this technology would be an option, a long-term option.
Okay. Yeah, just really quickly from my perspective, I think the answer is we need everything. So we absolutely are interested in both the large-scale deployments of sort of more mature technologies, but we absolutely need the innovation to come through and support it. And so finding ways, whether through different platforms, different investment models, to support innovation of the smaller companies, I think it's going to be key as well.
Yeah, so short answer is yes, absolutely. And I think since UNIDO plays a role as a secretariat of this hub, I would say we're keen also to see how do we create this business-to-business linkages. So like we're doing global matchmaking, there's also quite a bit of that matchmaking at the national level. And there's also a number of windows for support for demonstration of these technologies in developing countries. So there's the Accelerate to Demonstrate facility, which has been set up to really support some of these work, especially in areas related to hydrogen, industrial decarbonization, smart energy, and critical minerals. So these are more like open windows where startups and companies can actually apply for specific projects and get that support, but we can chat after that. I think we have come to the end of this discussion, and it's been really insightful listening to all of you and also to our previous speakers. So I'd ask you all to join me in thanking our panel. And let's keep moving forward till Brazil and beyond. Thank you.